Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really plunging straight into quite a fascinating analysis.
Yeah, what do we got?
It's a detailed match report from SmartBet AI for the upcoming MLS game Real Salt Lake versus Vancouver Whitecaps.
Oh, interesting. The one on May 24th at Rio Tinto.
That's the one. And what's really striking right off the bat is the sheer amount of data this AI uses.
Yeah. These things tend to gobble up data. What kind are we talking about?
Well, everything. Historical results, obviously. Current team form, player stats.
Individual player stats.
Yeah, and even betting market odds. It's quite the technological setup.
Absolutely. It shows how far sports analytics have come.
Exactly. And look, this isn't just about the AI trying to, pick a winner.
Right. There's more to it.
Our goal here, for you listening, is really to unpack how it gets there. Understand the complex factors, the probabilities.
See the moving parts.
See the moving parts, yeah. Get a feel for how these sophisticated tools actually work. It's like a backstage pass to sports intelligence.
I like that. And before we even get into the models, I see the report mentions injuries. That's crucial.
Yeah, definitely. Real Salt Lake, they're without Zach McMath, the keeper, shoulder injury.
Ouch. Goalkeeper injuries are tough.
And Matthew Bell, forward hamstring. For Vancouver, it's Ryan Gold.
Goal's big miss.
Yeah.
Midfielder, right? Knee injury.
Yep. And he's chipped in with 3 goals, 1 assist already, so a key player out.
And the AI factors all this in?
That's what the report says. We'll see how it plays out in the calculations.
Okay, so it's not just one simple prediction.
Yeah.
It's pulling from different angles.
Precisely. So let's dive into the structure, the model overview. How does SmartBet AI actually build its predictions?
Okay, so at its heart, it's what you'd call a hybrid system. It's using different tools for different jobs.
Makes sense.
For predicting goals, specifically how many each team might score, it relies on Poisson regression.
Okay, Poisson. That's common for count data, like goals.
Exactly. But then, for the overall match outcome, home win, draw, away win, it brings in machine learning.
Ah, the heavier stuff.
Yeah, things like random forest, XGBoost.
XGBoost, right? That's the one where trees learn from each other's mistakes. Gradient boosting.
That's the one. And also a multi-layer perceptron neural network, an MLP.
Okay, so a mix of statistical and machine learning techniques, not just throwing one thing at it.
No, definitely not. And it gets quite sophisticated in how it integrates them. They also mention bootstrapped Poisson models.
Bootstrapped, to get a sense of uncertainty.
Yeah, exactly. It gives you a range, not just one number. Plus, dynamic ELO ratings.
ELO, like in chess, but for teams.
Yep, constantly updating team strength. Then there are contextual features form, expected goals, injuries, market odds. It's all feeding in.
Wow, okay. Comprehensive. You also spotted fuzzy matching in the notes. Sounds technical, but maybe important.
It really is, surprisingly so. Think about pulling data from, I don't know, dozens of websites or sources.
The team names might be slightly different. Player spellings.
Exactly. Real Salt Lake, RSL, Salt Lake City.
Yep.
Fuzzy matching, along with something called Unicode normalization, basically cleans all that up.
Ah, so it ensures the AI knows it's talking about the same team or player, even if the name looks a bit different.
Precisely. It standardizes the data. It's a foundational step, really. Garbage in, garbage out, otherwise.
Right. Makes perfect sense. You need clean data for reliable results. Okay, so let's talk about those ELO ratings. How do they work for MLS teams?
So it's a dynamic measure, right? Every team has a rating. After match, points are exchanged.
Based on the result.
Based on the result, yeah, and who you played against. So if you beat a team with a much higher ELO rating than you,
Big boost for you.
big boost. But if you, a high-rated team, lose to a lower-rated team.
Big drop.
Exactly. Draws also cause smaller adjustments. It constantly refines the team's strength based on performance against expectations. It accounts for schedule difficulty implicitly.
Got it. So for this specific matchup, RSL versus Vancouver, what are the ELO ratings looking like?
According to the report, Real Salt Lake is at 1,500.99. Vancouver's a bit higher, 1,526.78.
Okay, so based purely on that historical strength measure, Vancouver has a slight edge.
Slight edge, yeah. That's the baseline the ELO gives us.
Okay. Now, predicting the goals, you mentioned Poisson regression. Let's break that down a bit more. What's it looking at?
Right, so Poisson is great for predicting counts, like goals. SmartBet AI uses it here to estimate the expected number of goals for RSL and for Vancouver.
And it feeds in lots of factors.
Oh, yeah. Things like recent form, points per game, that kind of thing, expected goals or XG.
Which measures chance quality, not just shots.
Exactly. Home advantage for RSL, obviously. Those injuries we talked about, how clinical they are with their chances, defensive strength.
ELO ratings go in there too?
ELO ratings, yep. And interestingly, those betting market probabilities you mentioned earlier.
Wow. Okay, so it's really trying to capture everything that might influence scoring. The report highlights some statistically significant coefficients related to the betting markets. What does that mean?
That's actually one of the really interesting parts. It means the model found that certain probabilities derived from the betting odds have a genuine, predictable relationship with the number of goals scored.
So the wisdom of the crowd in the betting market actually helps predict goals.
It seems so, according to this model. For the home team model, RSL, the market's odds for a home win, for the game having under 2.5 goals. And for both teams scoring, they all had a significant statistical link to the predicted goals.
How does that work? Like, if the market thinks a home win is likely?
Then the model predicts more home goals, likely because a positive coefficient was found. Conversely, if the market strongly expects under 2.5 goals, the model, seeing a negative coefficient maybe, predicts fewer home goals.
I see. And similar findings for the away team model for Vancouver.
Yep. Market odds related to an away win over 2.5 goals, under 2.5, and both teams scoring were all significant there too. It suggests the AI isn't just relying on team stats, it's actively learning from signals within the betting market itself.
Fascinating. It's like it's cross-referencing its own analysis with the market's collective opinion. So what were the initial goal predictions from this Poisson model?
The first pass gave 1.37 expected goals for Real Salt Lake, the home team, and 1.26 for Vancouver.
Okay, so very close.
Yeah.
But a tiny edge to RSL in that initial estimate.
Right. But then the report mentions this bootstrapped Poisson prediction. What does the bootstrapped part add?
Well, bootstrapping is basically a way to get a handle on the uncertainty. That 1.37 and 1.26 are just single-point estimates.
Right. The game won't end with 1.37 goals.
Exactly. So the bootstrapping method runs the simulation based on the Poisson model thousands of times. Here it says 1,000 simulations.
Okay.
This generates a whole distribution of possible goal outcomes. From that, we get slightly updated averages that adjust to 1.44 for RSL and 1.24 for Vancouver.
So the average shifts slightly.
Slightly, yeah. But the key thing is the confidence interval it generates, like a range of likely outcomes.
Ah, okay. And what's the range here?
It gives a 95% confidence interval. For RSL, it's between 0 and 4 goals. Same for Vancouver, 0 to 4 goals.
So while the average is around 1.4 and 1.2, the model acknowledges it could easily be 0.0 or 3.1 or anything in that range.
Precisely. It quantifies the uncertainty, really shows you it's not predicting a definite score, but a range of possibilities.
Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears to the machine learning models predicting the actual result: win, draw, lose. First one mentioned is random forest. What's the idea there?
Okay, random forest. Imagine you have one decision tree, like a flowchart, asking questions. Did they win their last game? Is their star player injured, leading to a prediction?
Right.
A random forest just builds lots of these trees, hundreds or thousands. But here's the key. Each tree only sees a random subset of the data and a random subset of the features.
Features like form, XG, ELO, injuries, odds.
Exactly. So each tree is slightly different, maybe focuses on different things. Then they all vote on the outcome.
And the majority vote wins?
The majority vote wins. It makes the overall model really robust, less likely to be thrown off by, one weird stat or outlier. It also mentions using SMOT.
Ah, SMOT. That's for handling unbalanced data, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have way more historical wins than draws.
Exactly. It helps balance things out so the model learns draws properly, too.
Okay, makes sense. So what did the random forest predict for RSL versus Vancouver?
The random forest came down on an away win for Vancouver.
Oh, interesting. That leans differently from the slight goal advantage for RSL and the Poisson. And the report includes a classification report for it. What does that tell us?
Yeah, the classification report breaks down the performance. You get metrics like precision.
Which is like, when it predicts a away win, how often is it right?
Exactly. And recall.
Which is, of all the actual away wins in the data, how many did it find?
Perfect. And F1 score balances those two. Then there's overall accuracy, just the total percentage of predictions it got right.
And what was the accuracy for the random forest here?
It was 0.56. So 56% accuracy on the test data it used.
Okay, 56%. Better than guessing, but, well, it shows predicting soccer is hard.
Definitely. Okay, next model. XGBoost. You mentioned it's gradient boosting. How's that different from random forest?
So Random Forest builds its trees independently, in parallel. XGBoost builds them sequentially, one after the other.
How does that help?
Well, each new tree specifically tries to correct the errors that the previous trees made. It focuses on the examples the model is getting wrong.
Ah, like iterative refinement.
Exactly, like a team improving on each other's work, it can lead to very high accuracy. Again, it uses similar features, uses SMOT for balance, and the report mentions grid search for optimization.
Which is just finding the best settings for the model.
Yep, tuning the knobs, basically.
So what did the XGBoost model predict?
XGBoost went the other way. Predicted a home win for real Salt Lake.
Huh. Okay, so now we have one model saying away win, one saying home win. It really highlights how different algorithms can interpret the same data differently.
Absolutely. And we have a classification report for XGBoost too. It uses labels 0, 1, and 2. How do we map those?
Yeah, looking back at the random forest report structure, it's almost certain that 0 means away win, 1 means draw, and 2 means home win, just based on common conventions.
Okay. And the accuracy for XGBoost?
Overall accuracy was 0.55, very, very close to the random forest.
Right. So two models, different results, but similar performance levels. What's the third one? MLP in neural network.
Yeah, multi-layer perceptron neural network. This is modeled loosely on how the brain works. You have layers of interconnected nodes or neurons.
Sounds complex.
It can be. The input layer takes the features stats, odds, elo, maybe even advanced player metrics mentioned here. Then hidden layers process this information, looking for really complex nonlinear patterns. Finally, an output layer gives the prediction.
And it also used SEMMOT and tuning.
Yep. SEMMOT for balance and hyperparameter tuning to find the best network structure and learning settings.
Okay. And the prediction from the neural network?
The MLP-NN predicted an away win for Vancouver.
Aligning with the random forest then.
Right. But interestingly, its classification report shows a slightly lower overall accuracy, 0.47.
Okay, 47%. So now we have random forest and the neural network pointing to Vancouver, XGBoost pointing to real Salt Lake. How does the AI make sense of this disagreement?
This is where the stacked ensemble technique comes in. It's pretty clever.
Stacking, like layering them.
Kind of. The idea is you take the predictions from your base models, the random forest, XGBoost, MLP, and use those predictions as inputs for a final meta model.
Ah, so a model that learns how to best combine the outputs of the other models.
Exactly. It learns which models are more reliable for certain situations, how to weigh their predictions to hopefully get a more accurate, robust final answer. It leverages the strengths of each approach.
Like a final consensus builder.
Ah.
Okay, so what did the stacked ensemble predict? The final verdict from this panel.
The stacked ensemble predicted a home win for real Salt Lake.
Back to a home win. And the accuracy. Did combining them help?
It did slightly. The overall accuracy for the stacked model is reported as 0.58, just a bit better than the individual models.
Okay, 58%. So the ensemble method leans towards RSL. But we've seen different takes. What about the last piece, the Monte Carlo simulation? How does that fit?
Right, Monte Carlo takes a different approach again. It doesn't directly predict win-draw loss like the classifiers. Instead, it goes back to the goal predictions from the Poisson model.
Well, 1.44 for RSL and 1.24 for Vancouver.
Those ones, yeah.
Yeah.
It then simulates the entire match thousands of times, 10,000 times, according to the report.
Wow.
In each simulation, it randomly determines the number of goals each team scores based on those Poisson probabilities. So some simulations might end 1-0, some 2-2, some 0-3.
Based on the likelihood from the Poisson model.
Exactly. By running 10,000 simulations, you build up a picture of the most frequent outcomes.
So it gives you probabilities for specific scores and the overall result.
Precisely. It estimates the probability distribution.
And what were the key results from those 10,000 simulated matches?
Okay, the most probable exact scoreline was 1-0 to real Salt Lake, happening in about 12.14% of the simulation.
Okay, 1-0 home win, most likely single score.
Followed pretty closely by a 1-1 draw at 9.71%, then a 0-1 away win for Vancouver at 8.85%, and a 2-1 home win for RSL at 8.61%.
So the top scorelines are all quite low-scoring, close results.
Very much so. And when you tally up all the simulations to get the overall result probability,
What does that look like?
real Salt Lake win probability came out at 39.58%, a draw was 26.26%, and a Vancouver away win was 34.16%.
Okay, so again, RSL slightly favored to win, matching the stacked ensemble's direction, but it's really tight, less than 40% chance for the favorite.
Exactly. The simulation really highlights how close this is expected to be. While the stacked model picked home win, the Monte Carlo shows draw and away win are very plausible outcomes too.
Right. So let's try and summarize this. We've seen different parts of the SmartBet AI analysis giving slightly different nuances, haven't we?
We really have. The stacked machine learning ensemble leaned towards a home win for real Salt Lake.
But individual models within that ensemble were split.
Right. And the Monte Carlo simulation, based on goal probabilities, also gives RSL the highest chance of winning, but underlines that it's a very close call, barely a 5% gap between the home win and away win probability.
Yeah, it definitely paints a picture of a tightly contested match.
It really does. And I think this whole deep dive looking into the guts of the AI report just shows how incredibly complex predicting sports outcomes really is.
Absolutely. Even with all this data, all these sophisticated models, you're still dealing with probabilities, not certainties.
And the fact that different methods like Poisson, random forest, XGBoost, neural network stacking, Monte Carlo can sometimes point in slightly different directions is fascinating in itself.
It really is. So maybe a final thought for you listening. When you see these different probabilities, these slightly varying predictions from different analytical approaches, what does that tell us about the nature of prediction itself?
Yeah, especially in something as fluid and, let's face it, unpredictable as professional soccer. What are these models truly capturing, and what always remains just out of reach?
Makes you think.
It certainly does. And we hope this detailed look inside the SmartBet AI report, prompted by your interest in this kind of analysis, has given you some real food for thought on the fascinating intersection of AI, data, and the beautiful game.